Hello and welcome to another edition of A Splash of Paint, brought to you in association with the SAA. In today's programme we'll be taking a look at the latest products and techniques from some of the most popular leading artists to encourage you to try your hand at something new and unlock your creative streak. So let's get started and take a look at what's on today's palette. We'll join popular artist Hazel Soan as she shares some of her top tips and techniques to show you what can be achieved using watercolours in a very short time scale. Jeremy Ford will demonstrate how to apply fixative correctly and give your pastel paintings the perfect finish. Fraser Scarfe provides a fascinating insight into the stories behind some of the most famous masterpieces and artists. Stu Dayton will be using her fast and loose style to bring life to an elephant in watercolour. And experienced pastel artist Vic Bearcroft will be revealing some of the many things that inspires him in our regular My Favourite feature. But before all that, I'm going to show you how to paint a fantastic autumn tree effect using a sponge. I've pre-prepared this background, which is a sky, misty background trees and a bit of green meadow there, and of course I've painted the tree as well. So using a sponge in watercolours is quite a common and really effective way of working. The thing to do with a sponge is to make sure it's a natural sponge and try and get it so it's nice and spiky. Look for a spiky sponge. And it will last you forever. A sponge is for life, not just for Christmas. It will go on if you keep it clean and you keep using it and look after it. It will last a long time. You can't mix colours with a sponge though. You need to mix with the brush. So I want to mix up a few colours for this. And I'm just going to use a mixture of aureolin or a bright yellow. You could use cadmium yellow for this, would be okay. Mix it with some burnt sienna. And that gives you a nice bright autumn colour. You can see how colourful that is there. And then we'll clean the brush. I'll do another one of these, but make it more yellow, make a brighter version. So put the yellow again, aureolin, with burnt sienna. But this time I'll put more yellow with it. And I'll make a brighter, yellower version. These colours are quite thick as well, by the way, and I'm mixing a lot of them too. So you can probably see a little difference between the two. This one's more yellow, this one's more red. Of course, you can balance the colours to suit. And the final colour is just a green. And the green, of course, is yellow and blue, so we'll use the same yellow. And we'll mix it with some natural blue. And we'll get a bit of a greeny colour coming through there as well. So that's the three colours we're going to use for this one. Brush away, and we'll use the sponge. Now, I've dampened the sponge and squeeze everything out of it. Every last drop out of it. And then it's ready to go. A dry sponge doesn't work too well. We'll go for the darker colour first. Literally decide which part of the sponge you want to use. I'm doing the spiky bit. I'm going to load it up. And it will take all the colour, but it's in there and it's ready to use. And very simply, we can just do gentle dabs. And you can pretty much see straight away how it's giving a lovely effect of the trees there. And of course, the more pressure you do, the more solid this thing will be. But the best plan of action is just to very gently, lightly tap it on your paper. That way it gives you the nice open effects. And you can use different parts of your sponge. Get to know your sponge and get to know which parts of it work best. And then of course if we clean the sponge out, give it a clean, give it a good squeeze. It's messy this, but it's good fun. It's like being back at school this. And then we'll go for the one that's more yellowy. And then we can just put a little bit of a brighter colour on there. Just a case of tapping again and working your way around. And it's adding a touch more colour. And you can see what a nice effect it gives on the trees there. Right at the bottom, it would be nice just to put a bit of a bush or a shrub just to finish this one off. So very simply, I can just put a little bit of the tapping around the fence post. But I've got the green for that mainly. So I'll put a little bit of the autumn colour. But then I'll use a different side of the sponge and go for the nice dark green. And then we can add a little bit of a sort of, just a bit of random foliage at the bottom. It works very nice around the fence posts. And it just kind of adds a nice little touch. If you're careful, you can mix with the sponge, put a touch more blue in it. And that will give you, of course, a darker colour. And then just a few little bits of darker leaf in the autumn tree. But to be honest with you folks, it's as simple as that. You can put as much time or as little time as you want into sponge painting. It's a very effective way of working. And the final thing is just a couple of scratches with my fingernail right in the bottom corner. And that's it. A very simple but effective way of painting a nice, big, large open tree. So So up next we have a demo from watercolourist Sue Dayton, creating a great watercolour elephant in just a few minutes by keeping her painting style nice and loose.
Today I'm going to show you how to paint my favourite animal, which is an elephant. To make the job easier, I have a drawing that I did earlier. I want you to do a drawing first, if you want to follow me, and then mix up pale blue using cobalt blue, and this time I'm using a rigger brush, and I would just paint gently over the line. Now, just to show you how it starts, okay, I'm going to stop it there and move it to one side because I actually prepared one earlier. So here I have the elephant, still with some of the pencil underneath, and the blue line, which is now quite dry, and I've put in the three primary colours, aureolin yellow, permanent rose, and cobalt blue. I've mixed together aureolin yellow and the permanent rose and made orange, and then I've mixed permanent rose and cobalt blue and made violet. Now, just because all those three colours are transparent, they don't have a lot of dark punch, so I've added a darker colour, and that is burnt umber. And when mixed with the violet, it gives a lovely shade. So I'm just going to now make a start on the next stage. Clean it up properly. Dust it off, don't use your hand. If you use your hand, you transfer grease from your hand onto your painting. And then here, I've mixed orange, and I'm going to just place in the orange on the elephant. If you give yellow and pink, or red if you like, and blue to a child, you're going to get elephant grey. But I don't want to do it like that. I'm not going to mix all three colours together. What I'm going to do is layer the colours. I'm just going to put a little bit more red into there. It's coming out a bit yellowy. It's better. Oh, a bit too sharp. Permanent rose is extremely strong. You only need a little bit of it. It's a great colour. Just put a little bit more yellow into the mix. You'll notice I'm leaving gaps. Those gaps will create a third colour when I put a second layer over the top. It's almost like a highlight. Today I'm working on a rag paper, arch rag paper. A rag paper will show the layers better than a cellulose paper, which is a normal paper that most watercolourists use. I know the rag paper is more expensive, but it does give you greater definition. For something special, it's worth getting to know as a product. I think I just need a little touch more on here. And then I've got to let this dry. I'm just going to go back again into the land behind and maybe make it a bit pinker. Just change the colour slightly. Now that didn't take long. Easy. Anybody can do that. Not difficult at all. Just need to let it dry. The painting's dry now. I'm ready for the next stage. This is a particularly favourite elephant of mine. She's called Echo. She's been the most filmed elephant that ever was. She died, I think it was last year, and she'd reached the ripe old age of 65. I've got some violet paint now, mixed with the pink and the blue, and I'm going to take it over the top of the orange. Watch carefully. This is really amazing because I'm actually going to turn. Look at that lovely shade of grey. It's going over the white, over some of the white. I think I'll leave a few flecks of white showing, just a few. So we're now getting an orangey grey, some violet, where I'm passing over the white area. There's a lot of red earth in Africa, and the elephants are always wallowing in it, blowing it over themselves, using it as an insect repellent, and also coolant, I think. Just go under the feet, and not to forget the toenails. Have you ever seen toes on an elephant? Did you know the toes are inside the foot, with just the toenails peeping out? Echo was beautiful. She had her tusks crossed at the front, and she was the most marvellous matriarch. one of her daughters will have taken over the role. Not necessarily, and I don't think it was actually her next in line. She chose the one that she thought was the most suitable to be the matriarch and coached her on. Look how the tusks show. This isn't quite the final stage. As I said before, I'm working with transparent colours, and none of them are really quite dark enough to give me the darks that I'll need, even if they were mixed intensely together. I've had so much fun sketching elephants from the back of a Land Rover. That really is my favourite way of painting. Well, sketching, and then turning it into paintings afterwards. Just a little bit of the violet into the background because it'll push it backwards. I'm afraid we're going to have to let it dry again, but that was easy. I do hope you're going to have a go at this. See you in a minute. I'm just going to mix an extra dark bit of grey violet. I'm going to put in burnt umber with the violet, and I'm going to use a smaller brush. So red and blue, quite a dark violet, and then put burnt umber into it. Surprisingly, burnt umber always makes a colour look warmer, and it becomes necessary to add more blue than you would think you would need. Well, here goes. Let's see if I've mixed the right colour. I think I'll put a little in the eye first. And this lovely dark bit under the tummy. Because the paint's transparent, the drawn line has become part of the painting, and that's the joy of painting brush drawing in the first place. It's something that if you've not tried, it's well worth trying. I'm just going to put a few over the drawing, a few darker lines on the hoover tube and on the creases, folds in the flesh. There are folds at the side of an elephant's ear. Just a nice touch to put a few in. Not far off, actually. Nearly there. That was easy. I do hope you'll have a go. I can't emphasise enough how important it is to do a little bit of brush drawing and let it become part of the painting. And also seeing how you are colour mixing by layering the colours, only using 3 primary colours plus a touch of a 4th. That's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.
A really nice style of watercolour there from Sue. Now it's time for a quick break, folks, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Hazel Soan shows us how you can combine colour with spontaneity and a few creative brush strokes to create a brilliant watercolour in little or no time. See you soon.